Welcome to the Aristocrats Soccer Podcast, the elite soccer podcast in all of soccer podcasting and podcasting in general. I'm David Harris, and I'm here with Jake Keegan. Jake, how you doing?
I'm doing great, Dave. Thank you for introducing me. Every time I do in the introduction, I seem to forget you. So thank you for introducing me. I'm really excited to do this show.
Unforgettable.
Nah, you do a great job, Dave.
This week we are joined, or this episode, we probably are putting out more than one a week, but this episode we're joined by a very special guest, Malia Berkely. Malia, welcome to our show.
Hi, thanks for having me on. Super excited.
Yeah, we're very excited to have you. Malia is, what we really look at as an up-and-comer, in soccer. And already, while being an up-and-comer, already a very established player, finishing up now at Florida State, national championship in 2019. And then on top of that, already with experience with the U.S. women's national team, which has been like a real theme for our show, right, Jake? We've touched on how high of a level that is and how competitive it is, right?
Yeah, go for it.
No, you first.
No, I was just going to say, I'm sorry for interrupting. I was just going to say, we've spoken to, I think 3 or 4 girls now who have been in and out of the national team. Sofia Huerta was one. Kaylee Kurtz, I don't know if she's been with the national team. Ashley Hatch. We've spoken to a few of them, and we're hoping that in 10 years we're looking at you and you're on that same level. But just before we get there, before we toot your horn too much, and we just tell us about 2020 season. It was a crazy year for everyone. It was a crazy year on the professional level, but I can only imagine how much crazier it was on the college level with all the restrictions they had to have. But you guys had a crazy successful season, as you seem to do down in Florida State. So tell us a little bit about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely hard. Like with the pros, I'm sure it's just as hard, but they were allowed to bubble, and it was a lot easier for them to bubble. So with us, we had to makeshift bubble, kind of hold each other accountable. But then you can't rely on other teams to be the same, like making sure they're smart. So it's definitely got its risks, but I think the ACC did really awesome, actually. I think there was maybe one game that got canceled, if any games, from COVID relations. But yeah, no, everybody was really, really smart, and that allowed us to have a really great season. Lots of good games got in, and it was definitely crazy. There was we got tested 3 times a week. So that was stressful. My nose hurt by the end of the season, but yeah, I don't even know where to go with it. Like it was completely different than anything anybody could think of experiencing. It was like a mixture of you're afraid to go to the store to get food because you might get COVID. And also, if you're going to training, you don't know if you might have it and spread it to your own teammates. So it was kind of like trying to do team activities to be a close team was also super hard. We did a lot of Zoom stuff. So that was interesting.
So Malia, congratulations as well. You just got your master's degree. I just saw you posted a picture there. What did you get your master's degree in?
Business analytics. Sorry, I had to think about that. My brain's fried.
Yeah, I was kind of getting to that point. Like, you're trying to combine very, very high level soccer with very high level academics as well, where you just finished. How long did it take you to do the master's? I knew you were doing it this year, but I didn't know you were wrapping it up in December.
Yeah, it took me 1 year. So I started this spring, like all of 2020. That was all for my master's. So I took 4 classes in spring, 4 classes in summer, and 5 classes in fall.
Wow.
You've been going nonstop.
Yeah, I would not recommend it. But I might as well. I'm here. they're paying for it. So
thank you, Florida State. So I was in a similar situation. I didn't get my master's, but I graduated in 3.5 years, like you did. Undergrad? I almost forgot what to call an undergrad. But I did it in 3.5 years. And my reasoning at the time was I want to try to play after college, and I didn't want to waste that spring semester. Was your thought process the same?
Yeah. Well, originally was on track to do 3.5, then tore my ACL my sophomore year. So I was like, I have an extra year. I might as well get as much as I can out of it. But yeah, pretty much everyone at FSU tries to graduate in 3.5 so that they can go play either overseas or here in the NWSL.
And, like that had to be a difficult decision, coming into this year, pre-COVID and everything else, where, it must have been a little hard for you to weigh it up, where they're like, okay, do another year at FSU. You just won the national championship. Very high level in college, and then do I go back now again and do my master's where, as you mentioned, they're paying for it, right? So it makes sense financially, career wise, but then on the soccer side of things, logically, the next step would be, okay, just go play professional, right? So how did all those factors weigh into your decision?
Oh, wow. Well, before COVID affected everything, I was always planning to leave after this semester. So I would graduate with my master's, would have had a national championship or another chance at it anyway, and then go and play pro. But then COVID came along. Now our national championship tournament is moved to spring, and I'd still technically have another year of eligibility if I wanted to stay a whole other year after that. But I've been here a while. So yeah, I might stay in spring and go for the national championship. I mean, if you've seen any of the games this season, we had a killer season. We have a really great team, a lot of good young players that molded into the team very well, and big things are going to come for them too, from every country too. Like, if you've seen Yuji Zhao, she is so good. She is going to be so good too. She's had done nothing but improve since she's gotten to Florida State. So, but a lot of players have been like that. So I'm super excited to see how they do. And that's another thing that's kind of making me want to stay, is I want to see how far this team can go. Like, so I haven't decided yet if I'll stay or leave, but.
Before we got on, we said we were deciding on the podcast today, so no pressure. But have you ever seen the movie Van Wilder? Are you too young for that?
I've seen like scenes. I think my dad is.
You're too young for that. Well, Van Wilder was in college for like 7 years, so that could be you. No, that you. Oh God, I not. But so, what are as you make this decision? It's obviously a huge decision, because I think in the NWSL or wherever you play next, I do think they would be accommodating especially because of COVID, because I doubt a lot of the professional leagues will start like right on time. Even like my league in USL, they're saying already like a May start. So you'd almost be done at FSU, hopefully by the time the season rolls around. But what are your coaches at FSU saying? Are they very supportive, whatever you decide? Or they're like, no, come on, we need you center back. Like, come on, captain, whatever. We need you back. Hey, we need you back. Get back over. You're not leaving. Do they have you like locked on campus? You're not allowed to leave?
No, actually, he's very supportive. He's told me, obviously, I would love to have you stay. I'd love to have you stay for that extra year, but I know that that's not what you're looking for. And he said he would support me in whatever decision I choose. So he checks up with me every once in a while and sees if I made a choice. I'm like, no, I haven't yet. I know I need to soon, whatever. But no, he's very supportive.
I was actually like, I wasn't trying to put you on the spot before either as well with like, as far as like whether you're going to stay or not, but I was thinking more of like leading up to before everything happened and everything, so say you did play this fall, like the decision was already made. You were going back, you were, as you said, doing your master's. Whereas, like, in professional sports, right, like, in most professional sports, like, you would just, you would skip you would skip the extra year, and you go into the draft in 2020, and you would have been, you would have moved on. But it just kind of gets into the sense I'm trying to get for everybody listening to the show is that, with the women's soccer, especially as your first year playing, say you get drafted and go play NWSL, the money isn't that much. It made more sense to stay and do your master's.
Yeah, definitely. I know that the NWSL came out with I think like they have some deal with the NCAA where you can go into the draft but then play in the spring, and then at the end of the spring go with them, or like you have to have it approved by the NCAA or something. But I also know you lose all your negotiating rights if you go into the draft. So, and like, kind of, I want to make money. I want this to be my career. So, yeah, I don't know if I'll go into the draft or go overseas. Yeah. Kind of looking where's the money? Where's good for my development? All that stuff.
Do you look at the national team girls now, like the Alex Morgans, the couple girls over at Man City? Was it what's her name? Rose Lavelle.
Tobin Heath.
Tobin Heath, that's the one I'm thinking of. Do you look at their kind of careers? I'm sure you follow on Instagram and all that. Do you think that that's maybe a more viable route for you?
I know that I can't play in England right now just because they're really hard. It's hard to play in unless you have like a European passport or you have some kind of citizenship over there because they don't want to use their international spots. So I mean, I was thinking play somewhere else overseas, build up games there, get my name kind of out there. And I think like after a year, you can apply for a European passport if you played, or like a European visa if you've played like 80% of your games over there. And then I could possibly go play in England. So unless I was a hot shot on the US team and like the star, but I'm not there yet.
So give it time. Give it time.
I'm working on it.
Have you?
I think that's what Sophia Huerta kind of discussed as well, right, Jake? With where she, was going. She's at Lyon right now because the OL Reign had that relationship, but she's not there on loan. She's just there training. Whereas she could have went to like a club in England or something, but it would have been a lesser club, and it wouldn't have been as high a level. So she felt like the environment at Lyon, it's very different than the men's game. It's like she felt like the environment at Lyon was just for the training was better for her than to go to a lesser club in England where she'd be on loan. Like it's very unusual and interesting to find out.
Yeah. I'm also very impressed with the amount of research you've done on this for a college kid. I'm very, when I was coming out of college, I did not know as much about the ins and outs of work permits and things like that. So I'm very impressed. Just on the NWSL before we move on, do you have any idea like kind of where you would be projected if you entered the draft? Have you heard anything?
I have no idea.
Okay. It's okay.
I would love to know. That'd be awesome, but I have no idea.
We don't really.
Yeah, we're gonna have to do some research. We'll find out for you.
Do you like? I think like. I guess it wouldn't be any kind of like from what we've been told from the interviews we've done. So like Ashley Hash, for example, wasn't guaranteed a roster spot. Right, going into North Carolina, and she went to the draft, and she's still fairly young, playing for the national team, so it must be a very, very high level, even though you're drafted, it's almost like the MLS where like you're drafted, but it's sort of like an invite to come and try out for the team.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
It's the same thing. It's
Yeah.
like, it's more, the draft is just like, it's kind of your day kind of thing. You get to be celebrated, like, oh, you're this number, first pick, first round, whatever. And then you get to go try out for that team, but you lose all your negotiating rights. If you don't go into the draft, you can be like, call up the coaches, be like, hey, do you want me? I'll come try out. And then see if you can get some more money out of them. I don't know.
Interesting perspective on American women's soccer from Malia Berkely.
I don't know if I should be saying this, but there it is.
No, I think it's really, I mean, you're a business master's in business analytics, right? So you're putting it to use. I think it's an important part of the game that a lot of young players, they just get pushed around. And a lot of players that I've played on the men's side, but that I've played with, especially that have gone to MLS, what happens is they get screwed in the sense of like they sign a 1-year deal, but then there's like 4 options attached to it. I don't know how it is in the NWSL. And like the guy can be making minimum salary the first year, have a great breakout year, all-star, all this. Maybe he wants to go over to England or Germany or wherever, and he can't go because MLS is holding him back. So I think it's very good or very important for young players like yourself to be aware of the dirty side, the financial side.
I've been told always take the small contracts. So like if you have a really great season, you can renegotiate your contract again or go somewhere else.
Yes, I could not agree more.
Just to relieve any anxiety Malia might have, I'm sure this is all pretty, I'm sure if you Google it, it's probably out there, and there's other examples as well. The fact that Malia might actually be a potentially very successful soccer agent is a whole different story.
To be fair, I've only learned this stuff in like the past 2 weeks. My dad's been drilling me like, you got to look this up, you got to find this out. So I've been talking to a bunch of my friends that have gone pro, like about agents, contracts, like everything. What should I do? What shouldn't I do? And I think that's probably some of the stuff that's helped me so much in this process is like ask all the questions you can, to like ask the people that have been through it what it like, they obviously know the best, so that's definitely helped out a lot.
You are literally saying all the right things. It's so much networking and asking questions, so much that's so much, it's so important. If you ever want to network with any of the people we've had on the podcast, just let me know. We'll put you two in touch.
I would love that. I know Ashley Hatch. I was at the one U.S. national team camp I went to. She was at that camp. So that's how I know her.
Oh, really? What year was that?
Last year.
Last year, yeah.
Jake,
how'd you find
research before this episode?
Oh,
Dave, you're busting my chops. How'd you find that experience?
Oh, I thought it was so cool. It's a lot different from the youth camps. It's a lot, I wouldn't say more professional, but there's a lot more freedom where it's like it's expected of you should know everything. You should know how to recover. You should know what to eat. You should know how to spend your free time. And it was really cool. And getting to play against some pretty good players, it was kind of like a prospect camp, I guess.
Yeah.
So like I got to train with a lot of the girls that are in the NWSL right now. So it was kind of like a taste to see what it would be like to go pro, to play against some of the best players in the NWSL. So that was pretty cool. I was excited about it.
That was last year, 2019. And so maybe touch on a little bit of what it was like. You were there with your teammate from FSU, Jalen Howell, right? So what did that give you, a certain little bit extra level of comfort, or like, was it just nice having a familiar face? Were these familiar faces? Just tell us a little bit about that.
No, I was definitely still very nervous. I guess it like helped a little bit because I had somebody to talk to afterwards. I knew a couple of the girls because there was a couple other college players who have been in like youth camps. We've been in youth camps together. So like there was some comfort, but still like playing in front of the big man. Like I gotta show up.
Yeah.
Gotta show out. And I mean, I think like even though that part was a little nerve-wracking, I was still more focused on like playing against the pros. Cause like I was so focused on going pro. I was like, all right, how would I match up against these players? Like, what do I need to work on? So I think that helped too, was not looking at it as this is like a tryout for the team.
Yeah. What was the general feedback you got from the coaches after the camp?
It was pretty good. He said I did well. I just need to work on a couple of things. I don't want to say
You don't
that.
have to say it.
Because then people know my weaknesses. I don't want that. But he said I did well, and he said, I mean, you guys obviously know there's like 1 million defenders in the national team pool, so I'm competing against a lot of good players for a spot. So,
do they project you as a center back or a right back?
Center back. But I mean, I'm willing to play anywhere. Just put me on the field, because I'm originally a midfielder, and then I've played almost every position in college except for keeper, even though I told him I'll play keeper. You need me back there, I can do it.
Tell him you're only coming back for the spring season if you get to play keeper.
I almost said that about midfielder. I was like, if you want me to come back, you got to put me in the mid. But then he'd probably just be like, Malia, this is my team. Shut up and go away.
Yeah. Shut up and play center back.
Yeah. Get back there. Do your job.
Can you maybe touch on how did the training camp last year compare to all these other experiences? And if you look at your profile on the FSU website, you can see that you've been in the U.S. team at every level, right? Including U23, I think wasn't even on there. So how did this compare to that? I mean, you've been in the U.S. soccer system since for so many years now, and you're still very young woman there. So how did it compare?
I would say it's just like you're like here for everything, and then they are like way up here. Like it's a huge jump. Like the training, everything is at 110% speed. Like the thinking, the speed and agility, just everything is like you're going. Even if it's supposed to be like a light fun drill, the competitiveness of everyone comes out. Like we'll do like rondo at the beginning, just messing around before we warm up, and it's like you're trying to kill yourself if you're in the middle. You're getting that ball, you're getting out of the middle, and it's so intense. But also like I love being in that environment. So for me, it was awesome. I want to compete. I want to get better. And the only way you're going to do that is if you're going as hard as possible. So, but it was interesting to see like everybody in that kind of environment, because you really only see that in games. Like as much as every player wants to say they're going as hard as they can in every practice, like you're going to have a day where you can't go as hard as possible. So it's just interesting to see like in a week span, like players can do that. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I definitely think it has to do, like, especially when you have kind of like a camp with a lot of new players and more or less trying to impress those there. It's all games. It might as well be a game. Like that training stint to you for a week is probably just as important, if not more important, than your last 3 games at Florida State or wherever it was. So it definitely brings the best out of you. It is. I think the toughest part about it is maintaining it. So like I'm sure you did well for that week, but it'd be tougher to do it for a month, and then it'd be almost impossible to do it for a full year until you got like 3 or 4 years under your belt. And that's how players improve. It's just consistency over time. But backpedaling a little bit to Florida State, we didn't touch on it too much. We got to relive the glory days a bit. So you're from Ohio. You're really, I assume, a very good youth player in Ohio. You won a couple state championships, but you're from Ohio. So what made you go to Florida State?
Oh, well, my first major like thing that I needed from the school was it had to be warm. I had to get out of the cold. I was tired of the snow. I can't play in cold. I mean, I can, I just don't want to. And so, yeah, I was looking at a bunch of different schools, and my dad was like, we need to check out these northern schools. And I was like, okay, that's great and all, but I want to go somewhere warm. So out west or south. And then visiting FSU, it was just something kind of clicked. It was just like, yeah, this is the right place for me. The first time I visited, I loved the campus. I loved the people. The coaches were awesome. It just felt right. I don't know. I feel like that's weird to say, but it just makes sense in my head. And then the second time I visited, well, I had to visit other schools because I told my dad at the end of that trip, I was like, yeah, this is the school I want to go to. And he was like, well, we still need to travel around, see these other schools. Like, you got to see all your options. And I was like, okay, yeah, whatever. And then I found myself comparing everything to FSU. And then we visited FSU again. And I was like, still, yes, this is where I want to be. And yeah, ended up committing here. Loved every minute of it.
Can you maybe take us through, well, you had some extremely high highs, and then you had the low of the injury. So maybe take us through that injury part and then into the really high part, I guess would be last year, right? Winning the national championship and some phenomenal games along the way.
Yeah, that national championship was 2 years ago.
Oh, 2 years.
It feels like last year because I don't count 2020. This whole year just makes everything feel weird, but
it does.
Yeah, so 2017, I tore my ACL. We were scrimmaging a men's team. It was a week before our first game. And I went into a tackle and I like watched my shin come out and go back in. And it took my ACL with it. Hurt my MCL too. So I had to wait a month before I could get surgery for my MCL to heal. And then I had to relearn how to walk, kick a ball, run, all of that. That was, there was hard times, definitely hard times. Very frustrating when like the first couple days you can't even walk. You're on crutches. My arms were exhausted because I have noodle arms. I had no upper body strength, so crutching around was horrible. But I mean, I had such great support from my teammates and the coaches and the staff. They were always like, we're here with you every step of the way. I had so many of my teammates actually like come visit me right after my surgery. They like brought me all my favorite foods, brought me, I like slushies. So they brought me a lot of slushies. And yeah, they would literally be like, is there anything you want to work on? Like, I'll stay after practice and help you. So I had constant support that definitely helped throughout the whole process. And then I think my first game back, we scrimmaged one of the youth Japanese national teams was my first game back. And my whole team was hyping me up the whole time. They're like, she's back. Like, I don't think I even played like maybe 20 minutes, but they were like, oh, she's got the skills. She's back. Just being absolute nerds, hyping me up. So that felt pretty good too. And then obviously 2018 was the best. I came out with, I need to prove that I was missed kind of attitude. So that whole season I was like, I'm taking the ball. I'm doing everything. I'm doing all the work. So I also had Natalia Kuika as my other center back, and I'm sure you've heard of her. She's amazing. She's coming to Portland Thorns this upcoming season, and she's still killing it. But it was so easy for me to be more of an attacking player because she's so good and she had my back there. But yeah, that team in that season, we had ups and downs. I think our last game of regular season, we lost to Miami, who I think was at the bottom of the ACC. And then after that, we were like, we had a little get together as a team, and we were like, look, we got to get our shit together. It's do or die right now. And then we won every game after that. And it was hard too. We went into overtimes. I think we played like 4 of the last however many national champions. We played Stanford, North Carolina in the final, who has how many national championships, and they're always good. We played Penn State. Yeah, we that was such a hard route, I guess, to the final that year. But I don't know, there was just me wanting to absolutely prove everything. I remember when I won, I went up to my mom and dad, or when we won, I went up to my mom and dad and I was crying and I was like, I did it, I'm back. And that's when it like all clicked together. I was like, that was awesome. That definitely, being through an ACL, crappy injury, all worth it at that point.
Yeah. You're a member of the ACL club, which is, it's not a club that you want to be a part of necessarily, but I think a lot of women's soccer players in particular are part of it, and it's a credit to you how you've come out the other side, and you're probably better now than you were before. So, what do you? I mean, when I grew up, I followed a little bit of women's college soccer, and North Carolina. Anson Dorrance was obviously I've read his book and his whatever. I don't know if he's a nice guy or not, but you beat them in the ACC championship. You then beat him in the national championship.
He wasn't that nice at that point.
Okay, yeah, I'm sure he was not in a good mood. But I mean, what was that like? Like, I'm sure you're in the same boat. You like you mentioned, North Carolina is kind of the gold standard for women's college soccer, and then you guys beat them twice in a row in the 2 biggest games of the year. Well, give one of those.
Yeah, no, it's I don't even know. It's always like, I feel like every team would say, like, if you ask them who's a good rival, you say UNC. Like, yeah, they have an amazing like history of just being a great team, and they are a great team, great coach, great players. But that also is like, that kind of sucks for them because they're going to get everybody's best game. So we come out to play them every time. And I think that in 2018 season, we played them 3 times. The first time they beat us in regular season. And so we definitely had a fire lit under our asses for the rest of the year. We were like, if we play them again, we're ending it. And that kind of showed out on the field, I think.
Yeah, I'll say so. Yeah, sometimes you need that like wake up call in the beginning of this. Like you had it with Miami, but then you also had it with UNC, that you can kind of be like, all right, we know what we did wrong, and now we're gonna fix it. But yeah, winning a national championship is one of the coolest things. I mean, I wish I got to experience that as a college player. That'd be really cool. So I'm a bit jealous. But do you think that winning that national championship makes you any less kind of likely to come back? Like if you hadn't have won that, would you be more likely to want to come back necessarily and win it because it would be kind of unfinished business? Or do you think that like winning a second, it would be just as sweet as winning the first?
I don't know. I mean, I would definitely love to win another one, to be like, yeah, this is one of the hardest things to do, and I have 2 of them. But I don't know. I feel like if I hadn't won one, I'd be even more motivated to come back. Yeah. Probably. Especially like, I don't know, just with the season that we had, that we just ended with, I'm pretty determined to come back and help out, do what I can. I don't know though. Still undecided. Just gotta throw that out there.
Dave, I think we've got our answer. She's back.
Well,
breaking news on the Aristocrats soccer pod.
We'll see. No, let's not put any pressure on you. Gotta wait and see what happens. There's a lot of negotiations. What I remember a few years back, I think you were in Europe training. Now, I wasn't sure what club it was or what it was for. Was it an FSU thing? Or like maybe just touch on your experiences, like having traveled abroad and playing abroad.
Yeah, if anybody has the chance to do it, absolutely do it. So my FSU team, We have amazing boosters, first of all. Gotta throw that out there. They helped us pay for that trip to get our whole team to go and do a Europe tour, travel around. We got to play against 3 professional teams. Goodness. We played against PSG. Blanking on the other 2. Obviously,
Lyon. Where were they all in France?
No, we played. I think we played Ghent.
That's is that Netherlands? No.
Belgium.
That's the one. Belgium. Yes. Thank you, Dave.
And then we played. I think we played another team from Holland, but
Ajax,
I don't.
PSV?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay.
I think that sounds right to me.
PSV Eindhoven?
Yeah, I think so. I'm not 100% sure, but it
yeah,
sounds.
But yeah.
But yeah, that was one of the coolest trips, just because like as a team, we could hang out, explore, and Europe's awesome. But then also like for the soccer portion, we got to play against some pretty good teams and see what it was like to play overseas professionally. So it was like a little taste of that, and I loved it. I loved the whole experience, and that happened the summer of 2018. So I think that really helped us win the national championship. I truly do think that is a major factor that helped us getting experience of like every type of play, because it's 3 different types of play, 3 different countries, like, and then a bunch of different players on the teams too. So you're getting a little taste of everything. Normally when we train against each other, we get that, but you're not training as hard as you go into a game, like with tackle wise. Like you're not going to go as hard into a tackle. You don't want to hurt your teammate. You obviously don't want to hurt the other team too, but you're more willing to go into a harder tackle against the other team.
Yeah, it's all right. We don't see them for a while, so they get hurt. It's no big deal.
Yeah, exactly. But no, it was a really cool experience. I loved every minute of it, except for the jet lag. That was horrible.
Yeah, I always find it's worse coming back. I think it is like coming back to the States than going there. Like going there, it all depends on when you land. But I think going there, you normally land like late in the day, so you just sleep it off, and then at least I find the next morning. But maybe you're a little different.
Yeah, I think when we got there like early in the morning. So it was like I had to last the whole day and then go to bed. But like after the first day I was fine. But yeah, coming back, definitely. I mean, I feel like you're excited to go out there, so it's like you have energy. But then when you're coming back, you're like, oh, I'm back home. Now I'm just tired.
Back to Ohio. It's winter. Yep. or summer then, so it wasn't as bad. But do you have any kind of cool, fun off-the-field experiences with your – I mean, you've talked about your teammates a lot and your coaches, and you guys are really close. Do you have any kind of fun experience from either that European trip or anything else that you feel like sharing? I'm sure there's plenty that you probably don't want to share, but –
I don't know. There's so many. Which one do I want to share? Actually, okay, I like this one. So, you know how in the tournament, if you make it far enough, you're going through Thanksgiving. So you can't go back home. Mm-hmm. So every year.
So was that your motivation not to go back to Ohio? In the cold weather?
Sometimes. Don't tell my parents, but sometimes.
Your parents will probably watch this. As supportive as they sound, I feel like they'll be listening to this podcast. So,
yep.
Sorry, Mom and Dad.
Yeah, yep, sorry. But yeah, so Mark, our coach, and his wife, Linda, they'll have all of us over for Thanksgiving. So it's like an entire team staff function, and I love it. He has like table tennis, he's got a bunch of yard games, so like it's kind of like a event. So we'll get all dressed up and we're like, oh wow, like I can't recognize you, make fun of people because, you know, we're not sweaty and gross, and it's just a nice day. And I think that's one of my favorite things is like we can just relax and eat a ton of food. That's obviously the best part, is eating a ton of food. So
basically, it's like a fun guy. I mean, I have a whole group of a whole team over for Thanksgiving, you know.
Oh yeah, but it gets intense. Too. Like we'll have like teams, and there will be cornhole, and it's a fight to the death. Like it gets super competitive. Like I don't think that part ever leaves, but that honestly to me it makes it more fun.
So fight to the death, cornhole in a dress. Got it.
Yes.
Wild, wild stuff with turkey. Okay, I'm getting an image now. Who's the table tennis champion on the team?
Oh God.
It's not you, or you would have said quicker.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we obviously didn't do it this year because we ended before Thanksgiving. So I think like almost everybody went back home.
Back to Ohio.
Wow. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think anybody's like amazing at it. So it's kind of, it also makes that much more fun because everybody has a chance to win.
Yeah.
So there's that answer. I don't
know. One of the things I was curious about was, so, you know, we've touched on playing in Europe, playing overseas. I know at least one of your teammates, Dina, I can't remember the last, is it Castellanos?
Castellanos
plays with Atletico Madrid. And I don't know if any of your other teammates off the top of my head are playing over in Europe. So has that, and then plus the trip, you know, over to play against the other teams, did those experiences maybe open those doors to you to like say like, hey, you know, there might be this other world of playing at a high level in Europe outside of the NWSL that, you know, puts it on your radar as a possible choice?
I think so. I mean, I more use them to see like, how was your experience like getting to that point? I think I've always wanted to play overseas. I like that idea. I've always watched European soccer. I watch Liverpool all the time. That's my team.
Very good choice.
Thank you.
Big Klopp fan over here.
Oh yeah.
Do you like his glasses?
I do.
The clear. I actually kind of want to get one. He looks so sick with his beard that's like the same color as his glasses. He looks amazing. Like, and his hat.
He's perfect. But yeah, I mean, I talked to them like about the styles of play to be like, do you think this country would be a good fit for me to find a team here? How is it for you? How was the adjustment? Like for Dana, she's playing in Spain. So like there's no language barrier for her. That was pretty simple. But for the players I know that went to Holland and Sweden and France, they said that it was kind of hard because of the language barrier. So it's like having all that information, like I got the Duolingo app. So like if I ever find out where I go, I can start learning the language a little bit. So I don't know. I think it's helped prepare me more, but not necessarily. I haven't really tried to network the other way. I'm not sure. I could try.
I'm just imagining, you know, like Atletico Madrid is such a big name, and you know, I'm imagining that it must be a really amazing experience. I don't know about the level. I'm sure the level of team must be fairly good, and you know, to be able to, the resources, the facilities, the lifestyle, you know, like they must really. I'm guessing that they really take care of the team quite well, considering they're such a huge club, and you know, to be in that kind of environment, you know, must be an interesting experience at the very least, you know, to play your soccer and then culturally as well.
Yeah, I mean, that's been some of the questions I've asked is like, how's the training environment? Like, is there ways to recover? Like, will I develop here kind of thing? Because that's my biggest thing is I want to be on the US national team. I have all these goals I want to reach, and I need a way to get there. And I think Atletico Madrid is like third or fourth in their league.
Mm-hmm.
I think, yeah. And then Dana just scored her first Champions League goal this past week. So super excited for her with that. That was huge. But
shout out Dana. You know who else plays there? Kylie Strom, right, Dave? Kylie Strom. I think she's athletic as well. She's from New York. She's kind of more my age. She's probably like maybe 28, 29, something like that. But she's bounced around Europe, and she may have played for PSV Eindhoven as well. She wasn't like she played in the NWSL, but she never really like got a lot of games. And then she went the European route and just kind of bounced around, and she's ended up at Atletico. So it's definitely cool playing overseas, and hopefully you get the chance to do it. I know a lot of girls that we've interviewed also have gone to Australia.
Yeah, Australia is a big spot, just because I feel like Australia is like very close to US style of play. So I feel like that's probably the easiest for most players. But I don't know. I like learning from all the different styles. Like I love training with Yuji because I'm getting that Chinese flair and all the tricky stuff. And I'm like, I'm going to do that and I'm going to get better than you. Like, that's my goal. Like, I want to take all of it and make it my game.
How would you describe your current style?
Oh, gosh.
If you were talking to like someone who's never seen you play before, but you want them to sign you for your team, give us like a 3-line little blurb about you.
3-line? I can give you 2 words.
All right, 2 words. Go on.
Luka Modric. That's at least what I want to be.
So Luka Modric as a center back. Okay.
Yes.
That can work.
Pretty much, but bigger than him. So I'm tall. So like a taller Luka Modric. There's your 3 words. Taller Luka Modric. That's what I'm hoping. I don't know. I love how he plays. And my dad brought me up to like, I have moves, quick on my feet, like deceptive. And I feel like that's what soccer is. Like, you got to make it fun. It's not just a sprint. Like, it's more like, and also it makes it easier too. Like, oh, you think I'm going to pass this way, but now everybody's over here, so I can go this way. Or I can just run past all of you, but I think the first way is better.
Fair enough. I mean, you've now mentioned your father a lot of times on this podcast. We've only been on for less than an hour, and we've already canceled Thanksgiving on him for 3 years. So, how big of a influence your father, but also your mom, I don't know if you have siblings, like how much of that kind of parent and your family, how much does that had an impact on your career and you kind of growing up as a person?
Well, probably the most influence of anybody in my life. I started playing when I was 3, and you wouldn't think looking at me then I'd be where I am now. If somebody took the ball away from me, I would go to the sideline and sit down and cry. And then even before that, I was scared of the ball, so the coach had to carry me around on the field. So I feel like I've made it a long way from that.
From humble beginnings.
Yeah. But my dad and my mom have been my coaches most of my life. My mom, like in my earlier years, and then my dad, he was my coach in high school, and then a lot throughout club. So almost everything that I have learned has been training with him. So all the dynamic, the moves, the quick feet, the deception part of it was pretty much him teaching me all of it, and then drilling in me every day. You need to go outside and do this. You need to go outside and do this. And then I definitely went through a couple rebellious years where I was like, I don't want to do this anymore. Like, leave me alone. I just want to be a kid. But thank God I didn't listen to myself, because of him and my mom, I'm where I'm at now.
Were they athletes, or did they play soccer or any other sport?
I think everybody in my family has played soccer, but they didn't play like in college or anything like major.
How difficult?
They're native Ohio. No, it's it's nice in a way because it's generally a lot of the players that I know of that have played at a high level, have played for national team, actually both you and Jake, good examples. Like, it's nice to see like Americans kind of coming through where it's not like your first generation, where your parents came from wherever, insert country, European country, South American country, whatever. And then, became, that soccer, that's what I grew up with. Not that I was a good soccer player, but like that mentality and the love for the game is where I got it from. So, like it's nice to see like the American parents, like, and we also have such a negative image, quite deservedly so sometimes, of the American soccer parent. But it's nice to see some really good examples of, good good parents, and
Dave,
Americans.
Are you referring to the boot it generation?
Boot
it! The boot it parents. Boot it. No,
kick it,
kick
shoot.
it.
They're like not even across half field, and they're like, shoot.
Yep. Yes.
Love that.
Yeah, that is very aggravating. How difficult has it been for you? Like, you're obviously very close with your parents, and you've lived far apart from them now for 4.5 years, and you kind of plan, if everything goes to plan, you'll be apart for a while. Like, is there anything you kind of bring with you that reminds you, or do you FaceTime a lot, or how do you kind of maintain that connection without getting too upset about missing out with your parents?
I call them a lot, and I'll FaceTime a lot, or I'll just like send a text here and there. A lot of times it's me asking for pictures of my dogs. So they're like, oh, hello to you too. And I'm like, I'll get to that. Let me just see my dogs. But I mean, I've been traveling so much since I was young. Like I was in U14 national camps and U15. So I'm so used to being away that, yeah, if I'm gone for like 6 months, so like kind of towards the end of semesters, I'm very excited to go home, miss my family, but it's not that I would be terribly homesick. And they also want me to go live out my dreams. So they're very supportive of all of it. They're not like, we miss you, come back home when you can. They're like, oh, you're going here? That's awesome. Send pictures. So yeah, it's not too bad. It's definitely like I get homesick, especially like I'll get homesick around Thanksgiving, even though I'm excited to stay and play. I'll get a little homesick, but yeah.
Well, plus they come. I mean, I find Instagram and I see the pictures you put. Like they come and visit quite often too, and I give them a lot of credit. Like even during the pandemic, I saw that they were going to visit you and see some of the games, and it's like I was just like, oh, geez, like traveling during the pandemic is not the most fun, but like they're there quite a bit, trying to support you as often as they can, or if it was, normal year in an away game, if it wasn't like, too far maybe or something, so.
Yeah, definitely. In the past, they would try to come to away games that were close and then like maybe one weekend of home games. But this year they tried to come to every single game that allowed fans because I mean we all thought maybe thought it was going to be my last season. Not sure if it is or not. But they wanted to try to come to as many games as possible because obviously if I go overseas, it's not like they're going to be able to come to any games.
So one of the interesting things that I took, Jake, I don't know about you, but one of the interesting things I took from the interview with Sofia Huerta was that her viewpoint seemed to me like it was that first of all, the focus for her is national team. That's what we basically named the episode was like U.S. women's national team or bust or whatever we called it. And like her career has been focused on that, right? So from her perspective was that unless you're at a top club in Europe playing, like the players we mentioned already, playing at City, United, and so forth, that you would have to be an NWSL playing in order to play at a high level. in order to get that national team recognition and notice. So if that is the case, like how would that factor into your thinking? Like, if somebody, really, authority, with a good authority, national team coach, somebody like that, or just somebody in the national team program or player were to say to you, Malia, you're probably better off going NWSL for now. Like, how would you feel about that? Like, would that be something you'd be more inclined? You'd be like, okay, well, that's my route to the national team, or, that's something you need to think about a bit more, you think?
I'm not sure. I mean,
Yeah.
if Flacco was to call me tomorrow and say, if you play in the NWSL, I'll be calling you into camps. I mean, I probably would play in the NWSL just because that's one of my ultimate goals, is to play on the full team. But I don't know. I still think that, like, no matter where you are, if you're good enough to be on the national team, they're going to find a way to get you on the team. Like, there's a reason why our national team has been so good for as long as they have been.
Yeah.
So, plus, like, if you are very good and you're not on a great team, you're going to get a lot of talk about you, and then a good team is going to want you. So eventually you're going to get to where you're supposed to go. I think everybody's route is different. It's just whatever you want more. If, like, a lot of people want the direct route, so what's going to give me the best chance? Probably staying in the NWSL and getting the direct look. But for me, I think getting to play against all the players, all the amazing players from the other countries, which is what you do when you're on the national team. If I'm training against them all the time, playing against them, I think that gives me more of a competitive edge. That's just what I think, because wouldn't you want somebody who's played against all the amazing French players, all the amazing England players, or somebody that's only trained against our style? Like, we don't play us, we play other teams. I don't know. That's just my opinion.
No, it's an interesting take. I mean, I think process of learning, for me and Jake, would be more so for me learning about women's soccer in the U.S. So.
Yeah. I mean, U.S. soccer obviously is great, but you can even see it with the players. Like, we're more leaning now into like a European style. Like with Tobin Heath, she's probably the most technical player on the full team right now. And I love that. I feel like that's what, I mean, it looks great. It brings fans. It's fun to watch, and she's amazing. So I don't know. And probably being overseas and playing in that style is going to make it even more so.
Yeah.
Is she your favorite player on the national team?
Yeah, I think so.
What about Rose Lavelle?
I trained with Rose a couple of times because she's also from Cincy.
Right? Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, she's awesome too. She's I would say her and Tobin are the top two technical players on the team. It's so much fun to watch them. They do all the stuff that you see on Sports Center, and like all the stuff that people are like, oh, this is cool. Didn't know women could do this kind of thing.
Yeah. I actually have a friend, Sammy Gadiri, Dave. He was with Greenville with me last season. And when we were watching the World Cup last year, we watched most of the games. And this man fell in love with Rose Lavelle, like purely because of her game. They're both lefties, and he was like,
"Oh, Sammy,
yeah." This man is to this day. Anytime Rose does anything, whether it's for club, for country, whatever, he'll text me and be like, "Rose with a heart." But it's very funny.
Love that.
But I mean, yeah, it's the style. I mean, everybody appreciates different styles, and it's really cool. That it's one of the cool things about soccer. Like, if you have a football team, they're all American football team. They're all American, and they pretty much all have the same style because it's all American guys. Basketball, you get a little bit more influx with some Europeans and South Americans now, but again, it's mostly all the best players are American. Whereas in soccer, even on the women's side, but especially on the men's side, like all the best players are literally anywhere. Just randomly pick a place on a map, and there's probably a great player that came from there. So it's definitely one of the cool things about the game. But it's been awesome having you on. I'm so impressed. Like, you're a college kid, and you're very good at responding to questions. You're very good at like thinking things through, and you have a lot of great knowledge on a lot of topics. So I'm hoping that you make it big one day, and we get to listen to your thoughts on all these things that we're talking about now. You're talking about it on whatever, Good Morning America, or whatever the World Cup tours that they do after they win, ESPN, Good Morning America, whatever. So anything else, Dave? You got anything else?
We have one listener question actually from Malia. Who's faster, you or Sean?
Definitely me. He's so slow. Especially now, he doesn't even work out. So
that is true.
Dave, you have to. Dave, can you introduce Sean to our listeners?
Yeah, Sean is Malia's other half at this juncture. As anybody who follows her, that's actually just for the context, actually for the interview as well. That's how I got to know about Malia, several years ago, because Sean would be playing for U23 teams that I'd be doing here on Long Island, Sean's from Long Island, and he's a very good player too. When he wasn't
very slow apparently, but very good player.
No, he's actually very fast. Before he did his knee, especially, he did his knee as well. He also had the knee injury. Sean's very fast, actually. When Sean wasn't off doing his modeling gigs or doing whatever it is that Sean does, when he actually came to soccer practice and played, he's very good. But and could have been really good. But I think he just loves the game, and but yeah. So Sean, I guess it's been a few years now, and I remember I think it was probably like the second year he was playing with us. I remember him coming like early on into one of the practices and just he was going on about Malia and just like, we're all just like, yeah, young guy, girlfriend, whatever. And he's like, you don't understand. She's different. I'm sorry to embarrass you, Malia, but it was really cute. It was very cute. It was very funny. Especially now as a married man, I can really appreciate where he's coming from. And she's very different. And this is very serious, and since then it's like I've never heard the end of it. It's constant stuff about Malia and my interest in soccer and stuff like that. So, but I've really enjoyed following your career through Sean and then through yourself on Instagram. But it's nice to finally connect through this, and it's been a lot of fun, and I'm really looking forward to seeing the next steps and seeing where you go and what you do. And I have full confidence that, especially after, like Jake was saying, after talking to you for, hour or so now, whatever you decide will be the right decision. You'll make the right decision. So, you'll get the information you need and do what's right for you. I think that's what you've done. I think decision you've made has been very logical, and looking forward to seeing the next steps wherever it is with soccer. So looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. It's been so much fun talking to you guys. So thank you for that. Definitely excited to see where I go. I don't even know. So we'll see.
Where can people follow you on social media? Do you, just so anybody listening would like to follow you on social media?
At Malia_Berkely for Instagram. And I think my Twitter is MillieB13.
Okay. And then also FSU, go Noles. Yes. FSU women's soccer.
Go Noles.
Without a doubt. And U.S. national team. And then, we'll see what else there is to come.
Definitely.
Final question for you. It's something that Dave and I go back and forth with. Do the kids use Twitter these days?
I do. Do I count as a kid? I don't know. I think so. I think Twitter's hilarious.
So, I mean, I'm definitely not a kid, but I tell Dave, I'm all about Instagram. Like, I like it. I enjoy going on Instagram. I use Instagram. Twitter is more like, I'll go on it, but I mean, I have an account, but I'm not crazy about it. But I guess if you're using Twitter, then I guess the kids are using Twitter. All right, Dave, you're off the hook on the Twitter thing. So.
Malia is our target audience for the kids.
All right, I'm a kid again then. I'll take it.
Jake's, analogies and references sometimes are interesting. But anyway.
And anyway, thank you so much for coming on. It's been a pleasure. Until next time, Dave, I'm the athlete.
I'm the advocate.
And we are
the Aristocrats.